Hello and welcome to Oklahoma City's Santa Fe Depot. Today we are riding down south to Fort Worth, Texas on Amtrak's Heartland Flyer. OKC's Santa Fe Depot was built back in 1934 and was served by Santa Fe's Texas Chief and Kansas Cityan, a service that was discontinued in 1968. When Amtrak took over in 1971, the Texas Chief was rebranded as the Lonestar and ran until Amtrak ended the service in 1979. Santa Fe Depot then sat dormant for 20 years, falling into a state of disrepair. In 1998, the station was renovated by Jim Brewer, and soon after, an agreement with Amtrak was reached to use the station as the northern terminus for the new Heartland Flyer service from Fort Worth. Unlike a lot of smaller stations around the US, this station is beautiful. The building features Art Deco styling everywhere and a high central ceiling, plus plenty of black and chrome trim to really complete the look. Off to the right-hand side is a small waiting room and one of two ticketing offices. This one is completely dark, but the one on the opposite side has its lights on, although the metal grate is still down, so no ticketing service is available. The window above the passenger walkway lets in plenty of natural light and lets us get a sneak peek at our train ahead of departure. After the crew prepares our train for the ride down south, the doors to the walkway are unlocked and we can head up to the platform. A member of staff scans our ticket and we're told to head to coach 821, the last car on our train today. Something I noticed that the crew had done ahead of boarding today was set out the accessibility ramps between the cars and the platforms. I'm not sure if it was because of the wet weather or that they were expecting more passengers with disabilities, but it certainly was welcome. Crossing the ramp, we can make our way on board the Heartland Flyer. Superliner coaches include a bit of downstairs seating, but we'll head to the upper level for today's ride. Our seat for the next 4 hours will be seat 11, a window seat on the left side of the train. Just as we got seated, a BNSF freight train trundled past. The Heartland Flyer runs over freight-owned right-of-way, as is the case on most Amtrak routes. BNSF is the host railway for today's ride, and I'm sure we'll see a few more freight trains before the day is done. Amtrak's Superliner seats are very comfortable, with plenty of space to stretch out and really relax. Each seat has a footrest that extends down from the seat back by pushing on the release to the side. The mesh seat back pocket is decently sized and holds the safety information card for our Superliner coach. Each seat also includes a tray table which folds down from the seat back. Above each row are two lights controlled by the white buttons in the middle of the panel. Each row also includes two outlets just below the window. As with all Superliner seats, seat adjustments are made using the two levers on the side of each seat. The lower of these two levers controls the leg rest. Reaching beneath the seat, we can grab hold and pull it up into place. The upper lever reclines the seat back from vertical to a comfortable lounging position. Above the seats on either side of the train are luggage racks. The racks are plenty deep and far enough away from the ceiling for even medium or large suitcases. If you don't want to haul your baggage up the stairs, then an alternative luggage rack is located on the lower level. The last of the passengers make their way on board and our train departs from Oklahoma City, beginning the trek down south. Before we leave Oklahoma City behind, let's take a quick look at our route down to Fort Worth. Our journey begins crossing the Oklahoma River, passing through the OKC suburbs and out into the heartlands. The tracks continue south, following US 77 through Pauls Valley, breaking off through Davis to follow the Washita River. The tracks then meet back up with US 77 through Ardmore, crossing over the Red River and the Oklahoma-Texas border only a few miles later. The ride from there is a straight shot down I-35 until we hit US 156, which guides us into Fort Worth Central Station. We'll cover a total of 206 miles between OKC and Fort Worth, with a travel time of 4 hours and 2 minutes. What had been a fairly misty departure soon turned to a full-on rainstorm. Outside, it was nothing but buckets on buckets of rain, water streaming down the windows. The rain eventually became too much for the gantry and began leaking down into the gap between each car. Essentially, it started raining inside. Our first of 5 intermediate stops today came not far outside of OKC in Norman, Oklahoma. A few passengers made their way aboard and our train continued on. By this point, the weather had lightened up a bit, allowing us to see the fields of southern Oklahoma. With our journey now well underway, I decided to head down to the cafe car to grab some breakfast. The cafe car is located in the center car of our 3-car consist. Passing through the rainy vestibule, we reach the coach cafe car, which is entirely empty. It was asked by the crew that passengers refrain from sitting in the center car. My best guess for why this was done was to keep passengers with different destinations separated, which meant that the crew didn't have to keep track of as many seats when we got to each station. Heading downstairs, we reach the cafe. The cafe is set up in the same manner as the one on Amtrak's Illini, with the bar taking up the luggage or additional seating space. The selection on board is pretty standard for Amtrak, although there are a few items exclusive to the Heartland Flyer. From the options, I chose the Big Texas Cinnamon Roll for breakfast, paired with a cup of coffee. The weather continued to drizzle down as we made our brief stop in Pauls Valley, number 2 of 5 on the day. Heading south, the tracks follow the banks of the Washita River. What would normally be a picturesque pass is sullied by the weather, with the water now brown from all the surrounding runoff. We eventually part ways with the river, but not before crossing it one last time. Ardmore is the only smoke stop on the Heartland Flyer. Rolling to a stop, we can head downstairs for a bit of fresh air. On the rear of our train today is P42DC number 72, with Locomotive 207 leading the way. Unfortunately, our stop here is cut a bit short by the weather, and we scramble back on board. While we're still downstairs, we can take a look at the bathrooms on board. Stepping inside, we find ourselves in the combination changing room and lavatory. The bathroom side is pretty standard Amtrak stuff with the usual set of facilities. The sink works well with plenty of soap, well-stocked paper products, and the usual outlet, which appears to be working well. The changing room half of the bathroom adds some much needed area over the usual room size, with plenty of space to sit, stand, and change. Overall, a good step up from the usual Superliner bathrooms. The rain finally begins to lighten up, although the sky is still plenty gray as we cross the Red River into Texas. With our journey now in the Lonestar state, let's take a quick look at some stats about our train and the route. Taking us down to Fort Worth today is Amtrak Heartland Flyer number 821, and is led by GE Genesis P42DC number 207, with Locomotive 72 bringing up the rear. Each P-42DC is powered by one of GE's V16 engines, producing 4,200 horsepower. P-42DCs are rated for a top speed of 110, but track speeds limit trains to a maximum of 80 miles per hour. The Heartland Flyer operates on the 206-mile stretch between Oklahoma City and Fort Worth. Average journey time between the two termini clocks in at right around 4 hours, which comes out to an average journey speed of 51.5 miles an hour. The line serves a total of 7 stations with only 5 intermediate stops through the sparsely populated plains of North Texas and South Oklahoma. Despite its potential, the Heartland Flyer only operates a single daily service between the two cities. The southbound train leaves Oklahoma City at 8:25 in the morning, getting into Fort Worth around 12:30 p.m. The train then sits in the Fort Worth yard for just under 5 hours until it's called into service for the 5:25 p.m. journey back to OKC. Plans are now in motion to add 2 additional round trips between the two cities, plus an extension northward to Newton, Kansas, connecting up with the Southwest Chief between Chicago and LA. Rural Texas is soon broken up as we reach BNSF's Alliance Yard. From end to end, the yard measures in at just over 2.4 miles and has countless tracks sprawling across the massive facility. Our train soon makes its way across the West Fork of the Trinity River, arriving into Fort Worth Union Station a few minutes later. Grabbing our bag, we can head downstairs and out into Fort Worth. With one final look at our train, we can head across the tracks towards the station building. Right as we're about to head inside, a horn sounds in the distance and Amtrak Texas Eagle Train 22 pulls in. The Texas Eagle will actually be our ride back down to Austin in a future video, but for now, it's time to bring today's adventure to a close. If you're new around here, I would really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button down below. It's totally free and it really helps support the channel. I also want to give a huge shout out and thank you to my patrons and channel members. If you too want your name in the video or just want to support the channel in more ways than one, then head on over to the links in the description below. But anyways, that's all I have for today. Thanks for riding with me, and I'll see you in the next one.